2, 1.
Good evening, everyone. This is High Point Mayor Jay Wagner calling our High Point City Council regular meeting for December 5th, 2022 to order. I want to thank everyone who is present in the room and everyone who's listening online. For those listening online, everyone from City Council is here with the exception of Councilman Moore and Williams. So we have 7 of the 9 here with us tonight. And before we begin the meeting, I'd like to ask everyone to please rise for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. We have our strategic plan update. Councilman Williams is not with us, but I can read his normal notes. Before I do that, Councilman Holmes, do you have an update on marketing?
Sure, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We had our regular meeting in November. We've got a comprehensive plan from Civic Brand. They gave us a full detailed report. It was a couple of hundred pages, and so they're moving right along. The next few weeks, we'll move into some concept designs, where we'll look at logo updates, potential taglines, and so looking at a full delivery of the campaign first quarter, sometime around March or April.
Okay, good. Any questions about that? Okay, the proactive code enforcement update was sent to all the city council members, but I'll read this for the public. Local code enforcement activities for the month of November. Under public nuisance, we had 34 new citizen complaints, 44 new city initiated cases. We had 93 cases abated, 14 by the city and 79 by the owners. That's good. Minimum housing cases, we had 23 new citizen complaints and 9 new city initiated cases. We had on demolition ordinances, we have 4 units are pending asbestos inspection and demolition bid. One house was owner-initiated demolition. 7 units are pending repairs. Those are at 1004 Prospect, 210 Underhill, 1105 Forest, 1113 Jefferson, 524 Cross, 1222 Carter Street, and 337 Wingo. Under zoning, we had 7 new complaints, 30 new city-initiated cases, and we collected 393 signs. Staff didn't work on a Saturday during November, but post-election, during a 2-hour period, 187 signs were collected. You can always tell when it's election time. Total active cases, as of now, 403. Of those, there's 241 public nuisance cases, 57 minimum housing cases, and 105 zoning cases. And Lori is standing up, I'm sure, to show us some good photos.
I hope so.
Yeah.
So first, though, one of the things that we wanted to show you is we added a couple of slides to this one. This is just for November of 2022. It gives you city-initiated versus citizen complaints, and then the total. So for the month of November, we had 78 total public nuisance complaints. 34 were from citizens. Sometimes those are violations, sometimes they're not. But the 44 were initiated from the city. That could be either city staff, fire department, police department, any other department. If they turn something in, that's how we record those. And then of housing, we initiated, as you were just reported, 9, and then we had 23 complaints. And then zoning, we initiated 30 cases, and we had 7 complaints. So that's just that in a snapshot. So that just kind of goes to the proactive, trying to be as proactive as we can with public nuisance and trying to address the blight issue. We're still winning that war. And then the other slide, we have, we were asked to give a comparison of city demolished cases versus owner demolished cases. So these are cases we started when I counted for 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22 for those full fiscal years. And we had in 2017, the city demolished 23 houses, and the owners demolished 16. As you see, the next year, we were kind of even, half and half. The owners responded, and instead of fixing up, they demolished. And then in 2019, we really topped out at 40, and the owners did 28. Then around 2020, it seemed like the owners started responding and doing what they needed to do, either repairing it or demolishing it. And then 2021, and of course, during the pandemic. And then at 2022, again, we're still even. So we still are getting a lot of response from owners, either repairing it themselves or demolishing it, so that we're not having to, because those numbers are coming down. So. And then the good stuff is the housing. This is another house that was repaired. This is what the house had originally looked like. We'd been cleaning the yard for many years, I believe. And this is what it looks like now. It's hard to get a full, straight-on view of the house, but we did the best we could. And I believe this was going to be, I want to say it was going to be owner-occupied. I'm not sure. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? All right. Next item on the agenda is our public comment period. It is held on the first Monday, at our first Monday meeting each month. People who sign the register to speak will be taken in the order that they're listed. And then after that, anyone who would like to speak can come forward. You can address the city council. We ask you to limit your comments to 3 minutes. When your name's called, please come to the podium, give us your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. And no one signed up today, but that doesn't mean you don't get to speak. So if you'd like to speak, is there anyone besides Mr. Thibodeau who wants to speak today at public comment? All right, Mr. Thibodeau, you got 3 minutes. We'll wait and start when you get here.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, and those in attendance. My name is Louis Thibodeau. I reside at 1242 Kensington Drive. I want to say I wasn't planning on speaking tonight, but since no one wants to speak, I'll speak for the citizens that may feel the same way. I didn't get to go to downtown. We missed that walk stroll, but we did go to the museum yesterday, and we got there at 10 minutes after 1 and had to park by the middle school because the 2 parking lots were already full. So I want to say you're doing a good thing with that, and there were a lot of folks there, so thank you.
Thank you. Okay. The next items are the Finance Committee items. Councilman Moore's not here. Is there someone from Finance who's going to handle it? Councilman Jones is going to handle this portion of the agenda.
Sure thing, Mr. Mayor. On Thursday, we had our committee meet, regular time. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for filling in, because I know this is a busy time for Councilman Holmes. He wasn't able to make it, and Mayor Pro Tem was out of town, but with the mayor's help, we were able to get quorum and went through items 2022-566 through 576. And just as a point of clarity, on item 2022-576, the expenditure was listed as $1,486,886.56. The amount was supposed to have been 88. It was listed as 886, I believe, and it was supposed to have been 888. So they were off by $2 out of 1.5 million. So we'll let them slide on that one. But I'll present these since they're consensus item with a motion to approve.
Second. Okay, there's a motion to approve the Finance Committee items as one consent agenda, and a second. All those in favor of approval, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Is there anyone opposed? Okay, that motion passes unanimously. All right, under our regular agenda items, there are several items for public hearing. First one is case 2022-557, AAA Storage Management LLC, zoning map amendment 22-24. And Herb Shannon from planning is rising. for that item.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Mayor, Herb Shannon, Senior Planner. Regarding case 22-24, the applicant has been in contact with staff, and they're requesting a continuance to your January 17th, 2023 public hearing, and the applicant's representative is here if you have any further questions on the continuance.
Anyone like to speak with the applicant about the purpose for the continuance before we continue? All right, if not, I'll go ahead and make the motion then to continue this item to our, what's the date on that January meeting?
January 17th.
January 17th meeting. Is there a second? Second. Okay. So there's a motion and a second to continue this item to that certain date. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, that motion passes. Next item on the agenda is zoning map amendment 2225, High Point University.
Let me pull that back up. It's there.
I believe there's an accompanying street abandonment too.
Yes, the next two agenda items, zoning map amendment 22-25 and street abandonment 22-01 are related. Staff will provide a combined presentation. You will have to vote on them separately. It will just be a simple majority vote for each item, but with the zoning request, there will be a consistency statement. Regarding the first request, this is a zoning map amendment proposed by High Point University. They're requesting rezoning to expand the southwestern portion of their campus. This southwestern portion is currently governed by a conditional zoning ordinance that was initially adopted in 2011. That's that area that's highlighted in purple. They're requesting rezoning to amend the conditional zoning ordinance for that area for a 2-acre expansion along the Barbie Street, or southern part of Barbie Street. The proposal is to revise the legal description of the zoning ordinance to add this 2-acre land area. And the applicant has also offered a condition regarding parking when located within 300 feet of any residential uses. All of the previous adopted conditions are being carried forward over in this updated request. Key items regarding this proposal, the city of High Point has a core city plan and a university area plan to ensure that any expansion of the university will be compatible with the abutting neighborhoods and to avoid chipping away at the edges. This policy for the university area plan encourages entire blocks to be part of any type of expansion. There have been situations in this southern portion of the campus where council has previously supported expansions that did not include the entire block, as long as the university has made an effort to contact those abutting property owners, or there are other issues that make this request a reasonable proposal. Regarding this request, staff is supporting the applicant's proposal, and we've noted in the staff report key issues for supporting this request: prior zoning actions that have rezoned all the block located north of Barbie Avenue has been rezoned and incorporated into the campus, and 2 previous expansions east of Barbie along with street abandonments. Another key issue is the fact that this is just not 1 or 2 lots. The applicant has 9 lots adding up to 2 acres, so it is a significant expansion. Key items to note from the analysis, the applicant has offered a new condition that any parking located within 300 feet of any residential areas are to be paved. That was based upon concerns raised from previous zoning requests when neighbors had a lot of concerns about the dust accumulating on their homes and cars from gravel parking. So the applicant has added that condition to mitigate that concern. And previous conditions regarding access to Willow Place have been addressed with previous rezoning expansions. That Willow Place connection into the campus has been removed and a cul-de-sac installed to prevent any cut-through traffic from the campus. Furthermore, ordinance requirements regarding lighting, screening of mechanical equipment, and landscaping next to parking lots will mitigate any negative impacts to adjacent property owners. Thus, staff is recommending approval. This item was reviewed by the Planning and Zoning Commission at their November public hearing. The commission recommended approval by a vote of 8-1. The 1 vote in opposition was from a member who was concerned that the policy guidance for encouraging university expansion of an entire block was not being met. Based upon those issues staff has raised as to supporting this request, the other members felt that this would be appropriate as is similar to previous requests in this area. And they included in the staff reports a policy or a consistency statement forwarded to you from the Planning and Zoning Commission, in which the commission has noted that although the proposed campus expansion does not incorporate an entire block, due to prior street abandonments and zoning approvals, a significant portion of this block consists of institutional-related uses, and the request is reasonable and in the public interest because the proposed conditional zoning institutional district expansion abuts the existing campus on two sides, and through zoning standards and conditions better mitigate impacts upon adjacent property owners. Are there any questions on the zoning portion before I go to the street abandonment? In regard to the street abandonment, that's street abandonment 2201. This is the land, the portion of Barbie Avenue that's right in front of the area proposed to be rezoned. Those lines you see highlighted in gray are prior street abandonments that took place in this area. That portion of Barbie Avenue line to the east has previously been abandoned and closed under prior city council action. Under this proposal, the applicants are requesting this 245-foot portion of Barbie Avenue right-of-way be abandoned. This is an improved public street, but with the incorporation of the former blocks and prior street abandonments, there's not much need for that portion of Barbie Avenue lying east of 4th Street. The applicants are requesting this abandonment for this area to be incorporated into their campus, and they will install a T turnaround. The 3 remaining lots east of 4th Street are not included at this time as the university does not own all of those parcels. A key item that staff makes sure we enforce with any street abandonment is that no property owner is being denied access to their property. Under this proposal, those remaining 3 property owners still have access to a public street, so this would not negatively impact them. Advertisements were posted in the newspaper 4 consecutive weeks per state statutes, along with mailings to those abutting property owners and those 3 remaining property owners east of 4th Street, along with posting of signs. Staff has received no calls on that. This item was reviewed by the Technical Review Committee and there were no objections. The applicant will have to reserve easements for the various utilities that still remain in that street once it is abandoned. The Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed this proposal at their November public hearing and recommended approval. That is a brief summary of the street abandonment and the rezoning. This is pictures that we include in your packet looking at that portion of Barbie Avenue to be closed eastward and westward back towards Centennial. And the applicant is looking at installing a parking lot in that area. And that area you see highlighted or shaded in gray is that portion of the street abandonment that is proposed for this evening. Are there any questions on the street abandonment request? Okay, thank you. You can speak during the public hearing portion. I think the mayor's going to open it up to you.
Okay, so public hearing is open, and we'll hear from the applicant before we hear from the general public, if the applicant wants to be heard.
Good evening, council. My name is Jason Sweet, 8807 Desmond Drive. I'm here on behalf of the university tonight, along with Dan Pritchett with Jamestown Engineering, just to answer any questions that you may have.
Anyone with any questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you. We may come back to you, we'll see.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Is there anyone here who would like to speak either in favor or against this item? Sir, would you like to speak? Yes. Okay, please come forward and give us your name and address.
Yes, my name is Larry Pratt, 412 4th Street. As far as the map that he has up there right now, I think it's 2 properties right there outside of that blue box that's left, 2 houses. And those houses, they run right next to 4th Street. And the other lot that goes to Centennial is already owned by High Point University. And they tore the last house down today. So my thing is, are they gonna leave those 2 houses and they already own that other property around there? I mean, if they're gonna do that, why not take it a block at a time, just like they said they were supposed to do?
Okay. Would the applicant like to address that concern, or?
Yeah. I believe we can only rezone properties that we can purchase. At this time, I don't think those homeowners are willing to sell at this point in time. So that's why we haven't tried to purchase those or close any additional area there. So.
Can you clarify what you just said there? You said you don't think they're willing to sell?
I actually don't deal with purchases, so I can't directly speak to whether or not someone has spoke to them or not, but we have not purchased those properties, so we can't rezone those.
Have you inquired about purchasing those homes?
I don't handle the purchasing of properties, I handle the construction.
Well,
So-
question,
Yeah.
if those homes are purchased, would this gentleman's point be correct that you would expand and take the entire block?
Yes.
Is there, well, I guess you don't handle purchasing, so I guess that
Yeah.
question would be moot. So I guess we would have to get clarification from your purchasing department.
Yeah, correct.
Mr. Shannon, I've got a question, I think, for you, sir. You mentioned that it's typical that when we agree with something like this, it's either we're doing the whole block, or if we don't do the whole block, it's that someone did try in good faith to acquire properties. I think maybe it's been determined by staff that they have tried in good faith to acquire those properties. Is that something that staff feels?
Yes, prior to submitting of the zoning application, we had a pre-application meeting with the applicant, and we brought up those issues. Let's see if I can get my arrow up. As the gentleman has noted, from Centennial Street eastward, High Point University has purchased these parcels. They've purchased this one parcel in the corner, and I believe this parcel here, but the one in the middle, from our previous discussions with them, they do not own that. They have made an attempt to purchase it, but at this point, they have not, I'm sorry. High Point University owns the one in the middle, not the other two. And they have, at least what was noted during our pre-application meeting, they have made attempts, but at this point, the applicant, those property owners were unwilling to sell. So that is why the zoning request does not go all the way to 4th Street, and also why the street abandonment does not go all the way to 4th Street. And as noted in the staff report, staff has also spoke to High Point University that at the time they do acquire that, we would only support abandonment up to 4th Street due to the fact that the number of homes in this area need at least 2 points of access. But that is something they have been looking at and made aware of. So they've only come forward with the land they have control of at this time.
Anyone else like to speak on this item?
Mr. Mayor, going back to the original question that I think was raised by the gentleman who came up, does that answer the concern that you raised?
No, really what I was saying is that they own property on this side, that side, right there, High Point University owns that property all the way to the fire station. The last house was tore down today, right beside the fire station.
I believe what he's referring to is along Centennial Street up to the fire station, the university has acquired these properties.
And that property runs all the way to 4th Street. So you have like maybe 6 houses left on 4th Street. So when y'all start building, y'all not gonna leave those 6 houses standing in the middle of what y'all building.
There you go.
So what I'm saying is, why haven't the university tried to acquire those, I mean, that block, that's a whole block. That would be a block.
Well, I think, Mr. Shannon, you said that they have reached out to all the properties in this particular area, or no?
During our meeting, we just focused on property along Barbie.
Okay.
During our pre-application meeting, we did not discuss any property along Willow, just property along Barbie was part of our discussion.
So the street abandonment is strictly contained to the direction of Barbie?
To this
To
portion
this
of
part of
Barbie,
Barbie.
yes. They do not have control of all 3 of these lots, that's why it's stopping right here.
So, Mr. Pratt, I think what they're saying is that this case in question doesn't encompass the other street up Centennial. This is just about the abandonment of the street on Barbie. But we understand what you're saying about the totality of the area and them purchasing all that.
If they're planning on building what is it, a high-rise parking deck?
Well, a parking that is proposed over in this area that's already part of the campus and be rezoned. The land that we're talking about this evening right here, they're looking at just a surface parking lot.
A service parking?
Just a surface
flat-
at grade
flat
parking
parking
lot. Yes.
But are you gonna leave those two houses right there beside the service parking lot?
They do not own all of that land. So they can't do anything with it
And
at
we're
this
not gonna
time.
do anything with it either. 'Cause we don't own
I
it.
understand, but what I'm saying, when they took that, from the rezoning, they were gonna take blocks at a time, not 2 acres, that's 2 acres.
Yeah.
That's not a block. You know what I'm saying? If they would've took that block, you know what I'm saying, it would encompass all of that.
Mr. Pratt, universities can't take anything, they just purchase.
Well, I mean, as far as the agreement that they made when they rezoned, as far as the rezoning, that they would rezone a block at a time.
Yeah, it's in our staff report that this is a little different than the way we would like to have it, which would be them acquiring entire whole blocks. That's, the history of that has been, it's been problematic for the university sometimes to acquire entire blocks. And so our policy at one point, I believe, was changed to say that they would make a good faith effort to get an entire block. But if they couldn't, they could still come and ask for a rezoning, and then that's up to us to make that decision as to whether we feel like they've complied with what they need to comply with.
I understand that.
Yeah. Okay.
And Mr. Pratt, I do think at the appropriate time, before they get to the areas that you talked about along Centennial and along Fourth Street, all of that would have to come back to council before they can start building up around all of that. And so I hope that the concern you're raising will be one that I imagine Hopper University is very much aware of wanting to keep that sort of all blocks contained together. And so I'm making probably a gross assumption here that I think they're gonna try to acquire everything before they start building there, and I know it would have to come back to where it does. So you know, your concern, I think, is very much noted, and it's something that we'll continue to look forward to before building starts there.
Okay, anyone else who'd like to speak? Okay, if not, I'm gonna close the public hearing on this item. And I'm gonna make a motion to approve the zoning case, and I will adopt the consistency and reasonableness statement of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so there's a motion and a second for approval of this item. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval of zoning amendment 22-25, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Okay, that motion passes unanimously. Next is the street abandonment case, and I'll make a motion to approve street abandonment case 22-01. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion and a second for approval. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, that motion passes unanimously. Next case is the Guilford College Wendover Avenue land use evaluation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. Andy Piper, Senior Planner with the City of High Point Planning and Development Department. So I'm going to be presenting two items. First, I'll give an overview, as you mentioned, the Guilford College Road and West Wendover Avenue land use evaluation, which will then be followed by a presentation of land use plan amendment case 22-05. However, you'll need to vote on those items separately. To orient everyone, the land use evaluation study area is outlined in blue on this map, and as the name suggests, it's located near the intersection of Guilford College Road and West Wendover Avenue in the northeast corner of High Point. It is generally bounded on the north by Large Quarry, to the southwest by the James Landing residential community, and to the east by the annexation agreement line with Greensboro, which defines the city's planning area. The purpose of the evaluation was to do a concise study of the existing land use patterns and conditions and make recommendations about amendments to the land use plan. This was brought about by recent changes in the area, including interest in development, especially for more residential, and also because the city is getting ready to launch a comprehensive plan process. The evaluation will serve as a guide for decision makers until the new plan can be adopted, and will provide the consultants working on the plan with more direction about the anticipated future land use pattern for this area. A full version of the evaluation is provided in your packet and is also available online on the project webpage. But just to briefly summarize, the study looked at the land use plan designations in the area, along with recent plan amendments, and compared that to the existing land uses in the study area, which revealed, for example, that while 31% of the area was designated as office on the land use plan, only about 1% was actually used for office. Also taken into consideration was the ownership of land, zoning, existing utilities, the transportation network, and environmental factors. The result was recommended plan amendments for 7 areas, which are the subject of planning case 22-05. So now shifting to the plan amendment case, this map shows the location of the areas proposed to change in red. Generally speaking, they can be put into 2 broad categories. First, changes that are simply intended to bring the land use plan into alignment with what is already there. This includes areas, use the pointer here, areas 1A and B, which are both part of the quarry. Area 2, which is the site of the new animal shelter. And then jumping over here to areas 6 and 7, which has already been developed. Area 6 is the CVS pharmacy, and Area 7 is a soon-to-be-built multifamily apartment complex that is just breaking ground. These would all go to classifications that better represent and reflect their respective uses. The second category includes proposed amendments for areas 3, 4, and 5, which looks at basically what those could be in the future. Area 3 consists primarily of existing single-family homes and is recommended for a step up in intensity to a moderate density residential development category, which would have densities between 5 and 8 dwelling units per acre. Area 4 is almost entirely undeveloped and is proposed for the next step up, medium density residential classification that would allow between 8 and 16 dwelling units per acre. And Area 5, just to the west, also undeveloped, already has zoning that allows for a mix of uses, and the recommended amendment would reflect that. So an important point to make is that the land use plan covers parcels within the city limits, but also portions that are still within Guilford County's jurisdiction, and only upon annexation would the classifications and policies in this evaluation come into play. The evaluation and proposed amendments were shared at a public information meeting held on September 20th at Hickory Grove United Methodist Church that approximately 20 people attended after we sent notices to all the property owners within the study area. There were some good questions raised and we received some helpful feedback, but to date, staff has not received any opposition. Therefore, staff is requesting that you approve the Guilford College Road and West Wendover Avenue land use evaluation. And then, if approved, we request that this be followed by approval of the associated land use plan amendments outlined in Plan Amendment Case 22-05. The Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed this at their November 8th meeting and looked at both of them and recommended approval of 8-1 on both. And so I'd be happy to answer any questions about either the evaluation or the land use plan amendments, if you have any.
Anyone with questions for staff?
Mayor Wagner, I'd like to, I guess, get clarity on one item, and I'm gonna do my best to try to frame the question in a way that makes sense. When we looked at an item right here in this area, I think it was for the convenience store, maybe it's Fast Stop, is that what it's called? I'm forgetting.
Great stops.
Great Stop,
Yeah.
sorry, I was close. When we looked at that, I recall at the time, the discussion we had about the land use plan, and how at the time we, some of the concerns that were raised, I think, by the applicant and even by some proponents of the development, where that our land use plan need to be sort of updated. And obviously, this is the reason why we're having these discussions now. I think my question, when I'm trying to frame it, is this, the way we're sort of looking at it in terms of the evaluations and where the recommendations are going, would these recommendations support that development at that time? I don't know if I just phrased that correctly. I guess at the time, we were thinking that it was, land use was a little out of date. We wanted to get it to a place where, like, we approved that development on that day because we thought it made sense. I'm assuming that the current land use looks at all of that and now sort of accommodates and supports what we were thinking on that day, does it?
Right, so that was a land use plan amendment at that time that changed it to the commercial category that it is now. So again, we looked at what we thought it should be in the future, so we did not go back and look at, previous cases as far as whether that was, if I understand it, would we have supported that? I mean, we didn't really look at that. We were looking at what's existing now. So I'm not quite sure how to answer that question.
Yeah, no, actually, I think that was great. Thank you.
I think Grace House was just a traffic mitigation thing. Phil Kleiman was doing the application, and they didn't want, there was pushback on the right in, right out. We had to weigh that in, and we approved it. It was just a traffic mitigation thing.
Okay. Any other questions?
Say the vote was 8-1.
At the Planning and Zoning Commission.
What was the opposition?
So Commissioner Morgan, basically, I think he just had hesitation. He didn't really oppose any of the recommendations, but I think where we left it with that is, we are going to be looking at not only this area, but the entire planning area when we do the comprehensive plan. And so I think, he had asked for a delay until, I think, February to have more time to look at the recommendations. At that point, we hope to be starting the comprehensive plan process. And so we think at that point, we will look at all the areas in the cities, including this one, and why we wanted to have kind of a fresher land use plan for them to look at and adjust accordingly.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Public hearing's open. Is there anyone who'd like to be heard on this item? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to make a motion for approval of the land use evaluation, item 2022-560. Is there a second?
You got to close.
Close public hearing.
I thought I just said I did.
I thought he did.
Well, just for the record, I will close public hearing. If I missed it, didn't think I missed it. And I will make a motion for approval of item 2022-560. Is there a second?
Second. Thank you.
All right, so there's a motion and a second. Any discussion on this item? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Okay, that motion passes. And I'll make a motion for approval of plan amendment. Oh, well, I guess this is a separate item. Anyone want to be heard on the plan amendment? Okay. I will close the public hearing for the plan amendment. And I'll make a motion for approval of plan amendment 22-05. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any discussion on the plan amendment? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, that motion passes. That concludes our agenda tonight. Anyone have any announcements prior to adjournment? I will say one thing. We had started a closed session prior to this meeting, so we'll be going back into closed session once this regular meeting is adjourned. Anyone on council have anything they'd like to announce or anything coming up? Okay. Oh, yes, I do have one item. Sandra, you want to stand up? See, I would have forgotten. Took care of me. I'd like to take this time to introduce Sandra. She is our new city clerk. She is tomorrow your first day? Today was the first day. I couldn't remember if it was today or tomorrow. And she is taking the spot formerly held by Lisa Bierling, and she's coming to us from the city of Winston-Salem. And I have to call Alan Joins and try to, I'm sure he's very upset with me for all the people we've stolen from Winston-Salem.
One at a time.
But But we're happy to have you. And would you like to say a few words, or? But we just want to welcome you to High Point and as our new clerk, and looking forward to working with you.
I'm excited to be here. It's a great opportunity, and I look forward to serving.
Yeah, okay. All right. I also have one other announcement before we adjourn. I'm not gonna make her stand up, but about a month ago, our city attorney, Joanne Carlisle, and I met, and she announced her intention to retire at the end of the calendar year. And so I couldn't talk her out of it. And want to thank her for her service as well to the city, and I believe she'd like to say a few words.
I would. And as an attorney, I'll keep it brief. Just because I'm pulling out some notes, never fear. It's just so I wouldn't forget some things. Thank you for this opportunity. I just wanted to offer some words of gratitude to everyone. I want to begin by saying what an honor it's been to be able to serve the city council, the staff, and the citizens of this great city. Going on 15 years now, about that long ago, you opened up your arms to me and my daughter, and we came to High Point fully invested. People thought we were crazy because we really did just pick up, and we came here wholeheartedly. We made it our home, and it's been something of which I'll be forever grateful. I've seen a city of a population of over 100,000 go from a city that seemed to be operating as though it was a bit smaller than that when I first arrived, to seeing one now that it's growing up to its potential. It's dreamed big and accomplished big. It's been a very exciting time to be in the city attorney's office in the city of High Point. My heart is filled with gratitude of the relationships and the experience my time here in High Point has provided. Someone asked me, or several people have actually asked me, what is the most impressive or outstanding accomplishment that I've seen or had during my career, not just only here in High Point, but during my entire career. And at first, there were so many cases and positive outcomes and rulings that came to mind that resulted in huge accomplishments and savings for the city. Others that represented victories that would apply to all municipalities and local governments in the state of North Carolina. But oddly, one of the things that I'm most proud of is nothing that ever made any court docket or newspaper, but the legacy that I feel that I'm able to leave here at the city of High Point through the legal department. I guess my succession plan actually is kind of representative of how this city has grown during the times that I've been here. It includes the growth of staff and succession plans of the other employees, because there are some others that are reaching the time. I'm doing early retirement, in case anybody's trying to guess what my age is. But, and you never know what capacity you'll see me in next. But, you know, I have some other people on staff that are getting close to their full retirement time. So I've had the pleasure of beginning to look at the future of where they're going to land and even look for their replacements. We've gone from a department that had a city attorney, just a city attorney, to a city attorney, a deputy city attorney. We're getting ready to have 2 assistant city attorneys. We have one new one in place already. A paralegal, which will begin, she went through orientation today with our new clerk, so she will begin tomorrow. A legal assistant for administration, and of course, there's the right-of-way agent and also the property research specialist that falls under the heading of the city attorney. Again, Mayor, I'll take what you almost verbatim what you said a number of years ago. It's been a very exciting time to be in High Point, especially, you know, in light of all the recent announcements and with all the recent companies that continue to realize that High Point is where their home bases should be, from baseball to soccer to industry. There's just so much more to look forward to, and I'll be keeping an eye on the success that is yet to come from this great city on the hill. We've heard that one before as well, haven't we? Right, so I thank you so much again, and it's been my pleasure tonight to, you know, as we attorneys refer to it as first chair, and to watch my deputy city attorney, Megan McGuire, sit in first chair. You guys have had that opportunity before when I haven't been available, so I've had the luxury of watching her tonight and plan on doing that again on the 19th. So again, my heart's just filled with gratitude, and I thank you all so much for the opportunity to serve.
Thank you. Also, before we adjourn, I think it's appropriate that we also thank Mary Brooks for serving as our interim clerk. Over the past few months, I think she's done a very commendable and great job, and she's someone that we've all, I think, become quite fond of. And so, Mary, thank you so much for your service as our interim clerk during this time period. Okay. If there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to adjourn the regular meeting. We will be going back into closed session. Any discussion on the motion to adjourn? Okay, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? A regular meeting is now adjourned.